Hi again, folks. So, I was thinking, people don't want to know that they're suffering. Although the suffering will allow them to know that they're suffering and perhaps try and do something about the suffering. Right? I mean, people maybe know that they're struggling. Okay, like I struggle to pay the bills, I struggle to get the kids to school in time, I'm struggling with my husband because he comes home from work late, and our marriage is a bit of a struggle, but suffering, people, I don't know, maybe a struggle is more sort of technical or physical or something or other, but suffering is more emotional, in a way. Suffering is like loss. Suffering is just wears you emotionally down, drains you, Where struggle, it's more like you struggle to lift a heavy weight, like you go to the gym and it's a struggle to lift a heavy weight, but you don't suffer. I mean, you don't really suffer in the gym. I mean, you can if you push yourself too much, I suppose. But like suffering is something that's kind of happening to you without you being able to do anything about it, Like I'm saying, it's not in your control almost. It is to a certain degree. What I'm saying is that if you're in the gym and you're lifting a heavy weight, right, that you can choose to let that weight go, to not pick it up, or to lessen the weight, and you can do that, and that's your choice. So you can lessen sort of the burden in a way, or the struggle, right? But like a lot of times in life, so I'm saying something else, but again, it's like if you're more suffering, and there's a lot of the time you actually in the beginning don't know what the hell to do about suffering. Like I think a lot of people have no idea how to stop the suffering. Oi, there's a fly that landed, or some kind of thing landed on the lens. I'm so Jewish, oi. Anyway, so like, yeah, like most people don't know that, and they don't want to know that they're suffering. And most people don't know how to fix their suffering. Now, is that fair to say? And sometimes I feel sorry for those that suffer without knowing that they're suffering, and also not knowing how to fix their suffering. I think there's a lot of times that I don't know how to fix my suffering in a way, but I try and not at least be in denial of my suffering, or that I suffer, or what makes me suffer. Okay? So people don't want to know that they're suffering, and their sort of peace in their life, so-called peace, is when they feel that they are distracted and not knowing that they are suffering. You know what I mean? They anesthetize to the suffering. It's there, and they're suffering big time, and it's getting worse, right? But they don't know it. They're so distracted. Like I'm thinking now, being January, now the festive, stupid, silly season has gone. I mean, stupid is that, especially in this country, vacation time, it's barbecuing, it's drinking, it's partying, it's spending money, it's consumerism. The whole deal, right? The whole deal. And so now it's back to work, right? And I know people are already talking about, well, Easter's not that far away. If we can make it to Easter, then we'll be all right, Again, the present is being in the moment is too hard to bear. We need to, cast ourselves away into the future to look for sort of an oasis of some kind, away. Anyway, so that's it. People are waking up. They spent their money meaninglessly a lot of the time, seriously meaninglessly. Okay, they've abused their bodies. All right. They've abused their minds with alcohol, with all types of substances or whatever it is, right? And now they're going back to reality, and they're in debt. What percentage of this country is in debt? The people of this country is in debt. No question about it. Again, sometimes I can feel sorry for people in this country because they didn't see it coming. They didn't see the sort of the modern world coming. It's a third world country, people, and it's like, they were just, all the American brands or overseas brands or whatever, television just came and sort of, inundated them. They didn't see it coming, right? All the fashion, all the consumerism, all the garbage music, whatever it is. They didn't see it coming. It took them by storm, took them by surprise. They didn't know. These are people that haven't really worked with money before for quite a long time. These are people that didn't have a Western education for a very long time. You know, most. And so just came out of nowhere. And so you feel sorry for them because the advertising is so sharp, you know, so clever, is so subconscious, is so manipulative. They wouldn't have seen it coming. They didn't even know what hit them. Right? So, and they also, it's a culture that sometimes doesn't necessarily understand money, like the value, you know, real, I don't know, this is a whole nother discussion on itself, but, so sometimes I look at a culture and I feel like, oh wow, what a pity, hey? Like what a war that's gone on for a lot of the sort of South African or African people, like, you know, my heart goes out. It's like, do they still, do under such sort of heavy, and again, maybe this is just the soul, the spirit, the karma, or no, I don't know what it is, has come here to experience this, you know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say that people have just come here to maybe, to run away from their suffering, and this is the first round that they experience of, you know, this on the soul level, and perhaps next time they'll come back with a little bit more, you know, sort of awareness about them, and being able to sort of dodge and not be so susceptible to sort of, you know, the materialistic world. Like maybe they just come here, as Alan was to say, a far out game, in a way. You know, maybe that's just what they've come to experience. And so it's difficult, but the thing is that, I mean, so do you let people suffer and say, well, it's just part of the experience? I mean, everything is, you know, has its purpose and its reason, you know, and can you blame the people? Sometimes no. It's like, should they know better? Sometimes no. But are they lazy? I'm just saying people in general, maybe, yes. Are they in fear? Yes, maybe. Do they not want to know the truth? Yes, maybe. Can they not handle the truth? Yes, maybe. Does that make them wrong? You know, do they have the ability? Do they have I'm saying the strength to deal with the truth, to handle the truth? Do they know how to be virtuous and to be decent and to live with integrity and to live with meaning and honor and significance, you know, and raise healthy-minded children? Do they know? Do people know? Is it instinct? These are big questions. Or do we choose? Do we willingly choose to be indifferent? Do we willingly choose to not know? To be blind, to be unconscious, to dishonor our will, you know, or not dishonor, but to throw it away, to discard of our actual will, our ability, our willpower. You know what I mean? It's like if you put somebody in the ring with Mike Tyson, who's sort of a lightweight boxer, who's had maybe 1 year experience of boxing or something like that, not many competitions. Like, could you say that, you know, they stand a fair chance? They're just going to get a beating. They're just going to get a beating. And what I'm saying is that that's what I feel. I don't know, but that's when I look at the stakes, when I look at the level of things, and I'm saying for most people in their lives, that's what they're up against. It's the challenge is too great. And so, can I blame them for wanting to run away from their suffering? Can I judge them for running away, from denying their suffering? You know? For some people, it gets more personal. For parents and people in your life, yes, you can, you know, get very angry and say, damn it, you know, you should wake up to your suffering so I can teach you something, and so you can be a bit of an honorable person, you can be a bit of a mindful person. You maybe won't treat me this way, mom and dad, or something, you know, or brother and sister, whoever it is, or wife, or husband, you know, wake up, because you're killing me, in a way. And wake up for me, and wake up for yourself, because you're ruining your potential, you're throwing away your potential, right? You're turning your life into a wasteland, inwardly and outwardly. So wake up. You know, want people to wake up out of love, want people to wake up out of frustration with them, out of hurt, you know. And so yeah, so when it comes down to certain people in your life, you can feel that, you know, they should honor their suffering. They should see it. They should learn to have the strength of spirit. It's important. It's necessary, you know, because we don't want the devil to get their soul in a way, which I've done a video on, but I haven't uploaded it yet. I'm saying that metaphorically speaking, you know. Don't let the devil take my soul, in a sense. Don't give myself over to, don't let the dark side take over the people that I love, you know. Don't let them become sort of another brick in the wall. I love them, for crying out loud, and I want to have a laugh with them, or tell them that I love them and they love me back, and really meaning it before the final curtain closes. You know, I want to be able to cherish them, and then for them to cherish me. I want to be able to fulfill the potential of love in relationship, of support in relationship, of understanding in relationship, of commitment in relationship, in honor in relationship, in respect in relationship. You know, all the potentials that human beings have that we just sort of toss aside. So it's a conundrum, it's a situation, you know. You say, well, okay, so for some people you can say certain countries, third world countries, you know, people of world wars or whatever it is, that have faced world wars and traumas like you cannot believe, displaced people. It's like, it's reasonable to understand their behavior. It's okay, right? I mean, we see that with like with a kid at school, and we know the kids come from a very bad upbringing, and be like, you know, well, what do you expect from the kid? This is how it is. This is what they've been through. You'll probably be the same or much worse. You know, so yeah, that's what we do. I'm saying, so sometimes we do that. Sometimes we let people off the hook. Sometimes, you know, I don't have the strength. Sometimes I don't. Like I spoke about my friend Tabo. It's like, are my expectations on him not reasonable? Do I come from quite a high emotional place? And I expect him to meet me on that level, but there's no ways. He hasn't, you know, he's not mature enough. He hasn't done the work enough, you know. Something better about me than there is about Tabo. I'm not saying that I'm better than Tabo in any sort of way. Not at all, obviously. And if you think that, then you're wrong. Well, yeah. No, but that's important. So the thing is that, so what I'm saying about with Tabo is like, am I of reason to say, look, you know, I expect you to meet me halfway emotionally, until, you know, like you can do that. You say to people in your life, I expect you to meet me halfway, you know, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, whatever it is. So, but you're wrong, you can't. Yes, it would be ideal if they can, but they can't. You know, that's not what they come here to do, in a way. Maybe they just come here to be comfortably numb, right? And in avoidance of their suffering, you know, because I'm saying once you become aware of your suffering, I think the process of suffering is a process of refinement, of waking you up to why you're suffering, of what you're suffering about, existentially maybe. They wonder, geez, you're going to die and it's going to mean nothing in the end. And maybe just because of your own suffering, maybe because of your diet, maybe because of your negative self-image that you have. Maybe you have a poor job that you're still stuck with because, you know, you're scared of what, you know. Can be many things. How much time have I got here? Can be many things, folks. And so the suffering, yes, you constantly embracing suffering. You realize that it's always there in some degrees or another, sometimes more than others. And you say this is the challenge of life. There's no real holiday. There's no vacation from suffering. I mean, unless you want to take some hardcore drugs or something like that, then perhaps. But otherwise, you know. And so, people don't want to, they're suffering. You wish for them to see their suffering. They don't want to know it. You feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them. I feel guilty sometimes. I feel guilty. It's like, well, why do I somewhat, maybe 10% see my suffering? Why do I sometimes 10% see my darkness or my shadow? You know? Or what's caused me to suffer, or the nature of reality. And other people don't even see 1%. Like, why am I blessed in a way? It's funny. Because it's like, you're blessed to be able to see your suffering and to see the suffering of the world. You're absolutely blessed. Because it also shows that you're empathic. It also shows that you're sensitive. It also shows that your heart is open. It shows that you're alive, that you're connected to the sweet and the bitter, or the sour. Yet you're open, that you're not closed. That you understand the language of existence in a way. Right? That you're alive. And so sometimes I look and I say, geez, thank goodness I have a little bit of willpower. Thank goodness I have a little bit of self-control. Thank goodness, like now, January 1st, 2019, not hungover. I'm not hungover. I never went to bed late. I wasn't partying or whatever it is, just mindlessly, which is fine sometimes. I mean, yes, charge your glasses, have a few drinks, whatever it is. But like before, many years ago, I would wake up hungover, vomiting. I mean, I would take it to extremes, right? I would have embarrassed myself, pissed in the nightclub, you know. I'm saying literally urinated up, you know, against the wall. It was so dark in the nightclub, I'd go up to one of the walls in the corner and just urinate. You know, I couldn't even find the toilet. It's shocking. Do embarrassing things, you know. Be at a friend's house before and be like sort of paint my face or something like that, with maybe if there was a cream pie on the table and look, I'm Santa Claus, everybody, or something, or sing a song, more beer, more beer, more beer. I heard that the other day coming from one of these. It's pathetic. Anyway, so I'm waking up with, and I don't feel like I've abused my body and I've abused my mind. I made a fool of myself, and then I've literally woke up broke, you know? Like I haven't. And so, thank goodness, okay, that's one example, folks. So I'm so happy for that. I'm so grateful for that. Because I know that I've gone through the fires for it, you know? I know that. I'm running out of time here. I've gone through the fires for it. And I've got a little bit of insight. I've got a little bit of understanding. I'm still so way behind. But again, I don't want to underplay myself, because probably the leaps and strides that I've made are massive, are absolutely massive, and I cannot even see it or even really understand it. How much I've grown and how much I've developed and how much shadow I've worked with and how much suffering I have embraced. So suffering is a gift in a very sort of very strange, peculiar way. So it's about waking up to the suffering, folks. It's about waking up to the suffering and then realizing that you can combat the suffering by finding your strength, the potential that lies inside of you to handle the suffering, to manage the suffering, to not just survive the suffering, but to strive through the suffering, and then it makes you stronger. It's a real challenge, folks. It's real. Let's not kid ourselves. the game is on, folks. You know, there's no excuses at this stage in the game. That's for sure. And so again, it's also an opportunity to realize one's potential. You know, what one has inside, how strong you really are. You know, how deep is your heart? It's getting to know thyself, folks. Suffering will teach us that, and love will teach us that. Many things will obviously teach us that. But that's where the pedal meets the metal, if you will. You know. Alright, folks, we'll chat soon. Be well. Folks, just thinking to add this to the talk on suffering. Maybe I'll just join the two files together, two videos together, or I'll just upload them separately. But yeah, I wanted to, so I was talking about suffering, and then I was talking about also surrender, you know, and, well, I wasn't talking about surrender, but I wanted to talk about suffering and surrendering. like there's times in the suffering that I realized this the other day, that I was in a moment of just sheer sort of, I wouldn't say confusion or overwhelmment or frustration, or just really feeling like overwhelmed by a certain situation in my life. and other things, you can get into that sort of mindset where you feel like just overwhelmed, where your mind is maybe just quite grey, if you will, and it's just sort of sizing things up and how difficult things have been and how treacherous things have been and how painful things have been and how exhausting and and heartbreaking things have been, and you start thinking about it all, and hope the wind's not too much of a bother, I'm trying to block it, and you start thinking about it, and it becomes overwhelming, and you're like, I just don't know what to do, I just don't know how much more I can take of this, I don't know who I can sort of turn to, I don't know what, whatever it might be that you sort of that moment that you're in, when you really feel the chips are down, and you just feel like it's taken everything you got, and in those moments, and then there's a moment of just surrendering. There's a moment of just surrendering it. It is what it is. I carry on. But it's also what I find is, this process of suffering is also is a process of learning about thyself. Like I said, knowing thyself. And I also want to say that the process of suffering also brings us closer to a higher power. Right? Now again, this word tricky. It's higher power, God, the divine, the goddess, the universe, the logos, the cosmos, whatever it is, the alpha, omega, whatever name you kind of want to give it, But it's also gaining a relationship with that as well. And I know that so many people leave this part out. I think in their rhetoric, in their sort of psychology, in their spirituality a lot of the time. I know that I do. I was watching the movie He Won't Get Far on Foot the other day, and it's played by Joaquin Phoenix. It's based on a true story, and I don't want my battery to run out. It's based on a true story. I still got 2 bars there, 2 little battery things. It's based on a true story, and he goes to Alcohol Anonymous, for he was in a car accident and he's paralyzed from almost like the waist down, or just even, whatever, the whole story. And his sort of sponsor says to him, he says, if you've got to believe in a higher power, otherwise you're screwed, like you mess, like you can't do it. There'll be times where it's so bad, where basically you have to turn to a higher power. It's just no way about it. And he says one of the hardest things to do is to teach people faith. The hardest thing to do. And so that's the thing, folks, is that I think also the suffering leads us to a relationship with the divine, is surrendering and saying it's in your hands. There's a higher power, at play here. Grace, in a way, knows what's going on. Divine grace, knows what's happening, sees my anguish, and can comfort me, There's that song, I can't get it right, by the Beatles, I think it's John Lennon, I don't know who it is, but in my darkest hour, Mother Mary comes to me, seeking words of wisdom or something, let it be, But it's again, that Spirit comes and comforts you. This is far out, far out. We'll smoke a bit of cannabis. We'll take a little bit of kratom. We'll take a bit of some kind of substances, maybe a drink, to be comforted. In a way. And sometimes that's fine. It's all good and dandy. But sometimes, the natural sort of high, if you will, by the comfort of the Most High, or a higher power, or something or other. It's foolish, folks, and I'm guilty of this. It's foolish to walk through life simply thinking that it's about your own self-discovery. Your own self-discovery is the discovery of the divine, of a relationship of that. You cannot walk through life without it. Because again, sometimes the challenges that we are presented with, the struggles that we are presented with, are so overwhelming that, and are so over-consuming, that we only have one place to turn. You know? And that's why it's good to get familiar with that place, or that space, if you want to call it. You know? To get familiar with that. And there's also sometimes a bit of a relief in that. There's a little bit of the pressure taken off, a little bit of the steam let out, you know? We're saying, oh, you know, real surrendering, folks. It's not just about like a giving up, or like, you know, sometimes more of an Eastern, well, just surrender. You know, and it's like a technical or analytical or, you know, type of thing. I'm not talking about that in a way. I'm saying surrendering it to a higher power. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Not an intellectual thing, an emotional thing. It's like, help me carry the burden. Help me carry the struggle. Give me comfort in my time of need. You know? Don't let me feel like my life's in vain or something or other. I don't know. Yeah, folks, so that's the idea, I think. You know, is that it's a relationship with ourselves and it's a relationship with the unseen. Whatever you want to give, whatever word you're going to give it, you know, whatever, but it's got to be in your life, eh? It's got to be in your freaking life. You know, and not in some kind of, you know, religious way. It's pathetic. Some kind of Santa Claus way. You know, some story that you were told, or whatever it is. That's bollocks. You got to find out what it is for yourself. You got to undo all of the trash, all of the propaganda that you've been fed, all the conditioning, all the programming, all the imagery, all the fears. Get rid of, chuck it all out, let it all die, throw it away, and create something new and beautiful from your own design. From your own design. Nobody else's bloody design, really. No other bloody design but your own. Then you know it's a true connection, and you know that it's real, because you've experienced it firsthand. You know that there's something there. You felt it. You know its presence. It's not just a figment in your mind or your imagination. You know what I mean? It's real, and that you can really sort of fall back on that in absolute times of need. Because life can be unforgiving, folks. It can be relentless. It really can. And we know that. Because we're willing to know that. We're willing to know that. How majestic is this? Eh? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Alright, folks, I'm sure my battery's going to die any moment now. Look at this, it goes all the way, it stretches for miles. For miles. Alright, folks, we'll chat soon. Take care.